How are we doing today, everyone? I'm going to show you how to install a set of Boca Bearings on a X-01 1717 Castle Creations motor. These are the bearings we're going to be using. I'd like to go ahead and say thank you to Boca Bearings for sending those out to me. I really appreciate that. First thing I wanted to show you here was what the motor looks like when it's totally disassembled. And basically, with these motors, you can see there's no screws on this end here, so you're going to be removing the 3 screws that are on this end, the back end. And basically what happens is once you have those screws out, we've got a couple of pieces here you have to keep in order, and 2 of the little washers go on the back end. But you just pull those out. See, we got a little bearing in there. That's the stock bearing we're going to be pulling out. And if you look inside there, or just right there, you can see that the bearing is right there. So what I've used, once you pull this out, which is actually very easy once you get it halfway out, the method I've used to take these out, these bearings, is to basically just go ahead and use, go ahead and use a body reamer. So take the body reamer in like so, and it'll apply even pressure, and you might have to give this a little bit more of a push here. But what will happen is that this bearing will go ahead and pop out. And to give you some idea, I've already gone ahead and done it with this one. So I'm just gonna pull it right back out. So, let me get these. So now we have the front bearing out. We can see there's nothing in there. We are going to add the bearings in. And we'll be right back. Alright, and we're back. I had to get a set of gloves. I don't like to work without them. I don't like grease on my hands, so you can probably hear I'm putting them on right now. I have to go search for them. One thing I want to make a mention of was, and you'll probably see that they're not here right now, are my bearings from Boca. And the reason for that is you want to put them in the fridge or the freezer to get them to basically get cold, which will contract the metal. And it makes putting the bearings in a lot easier. Alternatively, or not alternatively, but also what you might want to do too is if you find trouble getting the bearings in or out, you can take these end bells and just heat them, and that'll cause the metal to expand, and you should be able to just pull that bearing right out. Now he's just about out, and I had a little trouble with him, so with the reamer, all I did was take this and basically use a small hammer to push through. But you have to be careful that you don't hurt around this edge here. You don't want this edge to go inside the bearing, otherwise the bearing seat is not going to be even, and it's just not going to work. You're going to have problems with the motor. So always be safe when you're using something this crude to get a bearing out. And also the bearing that you do take out, it's going to be toast. They're not meant for loads like that. And so these are our bearings that have been removed. And now let me go pull out the bearings in the fridge, and we will go ahead and install those and reinstall the motor, rotor, and be done. So we'll be right back. Hold on one sec. Okay, I'm back. So I've just taken the bearings out of the fridge, and this is what we're looking at right now. This is the kit. Hope you can see that there. See if I can get a little bit closer for you. Oops, There you go. Those are the ones you want for the X-01 1717. So what we're going to do here now is I'm going to install these. They're a little cold, which is good, so I'm going to install the harder one first, which is this one. The rear end bell is the toughest one I found to install. Now, if you have trouble installing these, like I'm coming into that now, where it's not very, doesn't want to go in, I recommend putting a little bit of grease in the outside, and then also take this end bell when you have it out and put this in the oven, or the oven at about 150 degrees. It'll cause that hole to expand out, and that will just drop right in. So what I'm going to go ahead and do here is just pull this guy out as carefully as I can. Give me one sec. And another way you can get them on too is if you put a screw through here and a nut on this end and just keep tightening, it will naturally and very evenly install this bearing so that way the load as you're pushing it in stays even on all sides and you don't ruin the bearing, because when you have an uneven load, that's how you're going to basically destroy the bearing. So let me go ahead and just get this in. Give me 1 second. Alrighty then. Now as you can see, that bearing is nice and flush. So we've got our bearing in. And that is our end bell bearing. You can see I've left the screws in the end bell bearing, the end bell, mainly because they're small and they're easy to lose. And you don't want to lose stuff with this. So we're going to go ahead and install our front bearing now. So I've got that in the package. And when I took this bearing out, it came out pretty easy. So I'm hoping I can just drop it in. Get to go around, and it pretty much dropped right in. Now, don't do any more pushing in. Don't try to get it to go in. We're going to use the rotor to actually get the two bearings to align and to seat all the way. And I'll show you how to do that. So what we're going to do first is going to have to reconstruct the insides here. So go ahead and put this on your back end. You're going to take your little collar, put that back on, and then you've got two little washers if I can just pick them up. These go in the back. Come on, you little guy. Wow. So he's on there. And these go between the brass, I forgot the name, between this brass piece and the bearing. The front of the bearing, that is, or the back, excuse me. So here's our front. You can tell by the flattened area. So we're just going to go ahead and insert. As you can see, it just kind of grabbed it from me. And consequently, I have lost those two. Oh, no, here they are. It shoots out, or I lost, not lost, but dropped out these two little washers. And with my luck, I'm sure there's only one left. So go ahead and put a little sleeve guy back on. That washer, and right now, because I can't find the other washer, I am going to disassemble this motor. So that's basically how you or disassemble it. I'll show you here. It just basically, it's going to look weird, but it works. You just there we go. So he's out. Wonderful. Let's see. Is that guy in there? Let me check. Nope. But this is the magnet. So, see on it. And it looks like I have lost that washer. In just a moment, let me look around real quick. Make sure it's not around me. The good thing is I usually find everything once I've reassembled it, so it just means I'll have to go through more pain and suffrage, but hey, it's all part of the game. So anyways, I'm going to go ahead and reinstall it with one less washer. So let's go ahead and put this back in. Again, make sure you got the front going in that end, so take you, and it'll just naturally want to go. Or it should, excuse me. Okay, so there we go. As you can see, you should be able to see a little orange. And that's the orange bearing. Now, these bearings are the orange seal bearings. They're the hybrid ceramics with the ABEC number 7 ceramic bearings in them. So these are they're lighter than the other ones. They also don't have grease in them. They have lube, which is nice. They're gonna roll with a lot less resistance. So these, I mean, these bearings are, I can hold the inside here with my 2 fingers like this and spin it while just holding it. You know, that's how freely they spin. These are not like that, not at all. I mean, you can't even hear them. So now let's go ahead and put that washer on. And there's that other washer. Oh, that was perfect timing, actually. So remember, that goes between the brass collar and the rear end bell bearing. Okay, so now what we're going to do is just line up. Now I've got to unscrew these screws real quick. They come out nicely. Very easy. Be careful that you don't get them in the motor, otherwise you're going to take it apart again. Which is, I mean, it's fun, but doing bearings can be difficult. It can be easy, but they can be a little bit difficult. Depends on what you're doing it. So we just realign. I see our bearing is in there, and we're just going to realign our top piece here, and hold and push in. There she is. As you can see, the orange in there. There's our bearing. Nice, good looking bearing. There's our other one. Very nice. Oh, nice. So much better. Ah, it's surprising. Wow. I like that. Okay, so now let's go ahead and reinstall our screws and we'll be done. Ooh, give me a second here. I do recommend you put on a little Loctite. These Traxxas ones seem to come with it already kind of applied. It's always good to add extra. I mean, you don't want to have this coming apart when you're driving, especially with the X-01 if you're going for 100 miles an hour. That would just mean a lot of damage and a lot of waste of money. If not, someone get seriously hurt. It's also a good time when you do the bearings, take a look at the inside of the motor. You may not have known it through use, but you could have, in theory, you could have over-revved the motor and just not known it. And you would know that based upon the rotor. The rotor will look like it's been hitting against the inside of it, and it'll be all torn up. Well, that concludes our install here, our Boca bearing install using the orange seal number 7 ABEC number 7 kit with the MB2 lube in a Traxxas X-01 1717 Castle Creations motor, and this is the newer version. This came out of the new X-01 with the TSM, so this is the newest one you can get. I really appreciate you for tuning in and watching, and I hope you really enjoyed it. Have a good day.